I stood in the glass conference room, hands shaking, voice caught in my throat, as my boss, Marissa Hale, read aloud the email I wrote only minutes earlier. She demanded I resend the proposal to the client, but I accidentally attached the wrong file, an early draft instead of the polished one. It wasn't a disaster, just a mistake, but she treated it like a crime. Her eyes were sharp, her voice cold. "You're lucky we don't replace you, Samantha," she snapped, and laughter from two department heads echoed like knives. My heart sank. I felt so small I could fold into dust. I tried to speak, to explain that the corrected file was already sent, but she cut me off. "No excuses, sit down and take notes. You obviously need guidance." The whole room watched as I lowered my head and swallowed humiliation like bitter medicine. It wasn't the first time she embarrassed me publicly, but today her words landed deeper. Something cracked inside me, quiet but loud enough for me to hear it. That was the moment I questioned my worth. And without knowing, it was also the moment I began planning my revenge. After the meeting, I sat in the restroom stall, hands over my face, tears threatening but refusing to fall. I kept hearing her voice. "Lucky we don't replace you." I replayed every moment like a punishment. The accomplished woman I used to be felt distant, like a ghost. When I returned to my desk, co-workers avoided eye contact. Nobody wanted to be associated with the woman publicly humiliated by the boss. I typed quietly, forcing myself to breathe evenly, but every keystroke felt heavy. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend, Leah, who worked in HR. "You okay?" she asked. I whispered aloud, "I don't know." Leah said she heard what happened through office whispers. "You don't deserve this," she wrote. "She's doing it on purpose. You're good at your job." Her message steadied me for a moment. Marissa walked past my desk later and said, "Fix the report by tomorrow, and try not to disappoint me again." She didn't look at me. She looked through me, like I was disposable. That night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling and wondered, how did I let someone make me feel so small? I drifted into sleep with a new feeling in my chest. Anger. The next morning, Leah stopped me by the elevator. Her voice was low. "Sam, something's off. I heard Marissa talking to the board yesterday. Your name came up." My stomach tightened. Leah looked worried. "Be careful. She's building a case to push you out." I wanted to believe Leah was exaggerating, but deep down, I felt it too. Every criticism, every glare, every public scolding, it wasn't random. It was systematic, calculated. When I got to my desk, Marissa was already standing there. "Good," she said, like she owned my presence. "I need you to cover this week's investor prep and cancel your weekend plans. We will be working late. If you're committed to staying here." There it was, a threat wrapped as opportunity. I nodded, jaw tense. She smirked. Throughout the day, she overloaded me with tasks that usually took a whole team. I worked through lunch, shoulders burning. By evening, the office emptied, but she stayed, walking behind me like a shadow. "Faster," she said. "Maybe you're not cut out for the leadership." Her words stung, but I kept typing while something else grew inside me. She wasn't just breaking my confidence. She was preparing the stage for something bigger. And I should have listened to the warning. Days blended. My workload doubled. My sleep shrank. Each morning, I walked into that building feeling smaller. But on Thursday night, after everyone left, something changed. I was editing investor documents on Marissa's computer while she attended a dinner meeting. Her desktop was unlocked. I shouldn't have opened anything. But curiosity is a spark that burns everything it touches. I found a folder labeled Transition Plan, Q4. My heart thudded. Inside were drafted emails, a schedule outlines, and most painfully, a list of candidates to replace me. The role title was crossed out, and replaced with incoming senior analyst. My name was nowhere in the retention column. She wasn't planning to fire me. She was planning to erase me. I sat in that dim office, the computer screen glowing like truth I didn't want to see. My breathing was rough, my chest hurt. After all the hours I gave, after every deadline, every late night, she wanted me gone. But then I noticed something else. A separate folder named Budget Misallocation. Private. I clicked. Inside were spreadsheets showing hidden expenses and unauthorized transfers. Money moved into accounts under names I didn't recognize. That was my first weapon, and I knew I couldn't walk away quietly anymore. The next morning, I walked into the office with my back straight, the first time in weeks. I printed copies of the budget files, saved encrypted versions to a flash drive, and slipped them into my bag. Marissa noticed my calm and frowned. "Why are you smiling?" she asked sharply. I shrugged. "Just ready to work," I said softly. She didn't like confidence. It threatened her control. Throughout the day, I watched her, but this time not with fear, with calculation. She ordered me to rewrite an entire report by 3 p.m., impossible for one person. Normally, I would panic. Instead, I breathed slow, typed steady, and finished early. Her eyes widened. "You actually completed it?" "Yes," I said. "Was there anything else?" My tone was gentle, but the shift was loud. She hated it. At lunch, Leah and I stepped outside. I told her what I found. Her face turned pale. "Sam, that's illegal. If you move wrong, she'll bury you." I nodded. "Not if I bury her first." That was the moment I made my decision. I wouldn't beg for space at this job anymore. I would take it, piece by piece. I began documenting everything. Every message, every project she dumped on me, every insult she threw. I saved screenshots, printed emails, kept timestamps like a detective. The more I watched her, the clearer her pattern became. Marissa thrived on power, but power is fragile when you don't know someone is watching. Soon she noticed my change. One afternoon, she cornered me by the printer, her perfume sharp like warning. "You think one good week clears your record," she whispered. "Don't get comfortable. You're still replaceable." I held her gaze for the first time. "Maybe, but not today." She blinked, thrown off. I walked away feeling a new strength move through me. Small but real. Later, she called an emergency meeting, claiming incomplete investor prep. When she forgot to send files needed for the review, she blamed me anyway. "Samantha dropped the ball," she announced. But this time, I spoke up. "No, I sent everything on Tuesday. The email is time-stamped," I said, my voice even. I projected on the screen and the room fell silent. Marissa's jaw tightened. For once, she didn't have a rebuttal. A crack appeared in her authority, and I planned to widen it. The investor presentation week arrived fast. Everything Marissa neglected, I handled. I stayed late, double-checked data, prepared clean visuals. Marissa didn't notice. Too busy charming executives and pretending my work was hers. Friday morning, I entered the boardroom for the presentation, expecting to sit in the corner like usual. But then, the CEO, Richard Devereaux, looked right at me. "Samantha, aren't you the lead analyst on this project?" My heart skipped. I glanced at Marissa. Her smile strained. "Yes," I answered slowly. He motioned for me to present. The room watched as I explained every chart, every projection. My voice shook at first, then grew firm. I was clear, confident, precise. Everything she said I wasn't. When I finished, Richard leaned back, impressed. "Well done," he said. "Your clarity is refreshing." Applause filled the room. Marissa's face froze. After the meeting, Richard pulled me aside. "I'd like updates directly from you moving forward," he said. "You clearly know this material better than anyone." I nodded, stunned. Marissa stood nearby, stiff like stone. That was the moment she realized I wasn't breaking. I was rising. The office atmosphere shifted. Colleagues who once avoided me now asked questions, sought my input, copied my analysis formats. I wasn't invisible anymore, and Marissa felt it like a burn. Her commands grew sharper, her temper shorter. She wanted control back, and she was willing to fight dirty. One night, she left her office door cracked, and I heard voices. "Samantha is gaining too much attention," she said to someone on the phone. "I need leverage. Find me something I can use against her." She was hunting, so I prepared a trap. I intentionally dropped a minor error into a draft report. Nothing damaging, just enough to appear careless. I left it open on my screen and pretended to go to lunch. When I returned, the error was reported to HR anonymously. Only Marissa had access. Leah looked at me later, whispering, "Someone filed performance concerns against you." I smiled faintly. Good, let her think she's winning. Because while she chased my small mistake, I held proof of her crimes. She wasn't the only one playing now. On Monday, I requested a private meeting with the CEO. Richard looked surprised but open. "What's on your mind?" I handed him a neatly organized file. Copies of budget misallocations, transfer records, Marissa's unauthorized accounts. His frown deepened with every page. "These are serious allegations." "Yes," I said softly. "And I have more." He inhaled slowly, like a man tasting betrayal. "Why come to me instead of HR?" "Because HR reports to her," I said. His eyes sharpened. He understood. He told me he needed time to verify everything and thanked me carefully, the way someone thanks a bomb technician. When I left the room, my pulse was wild. I did something irreversible. Marissa passed me in the hallway, smiling like she owned the world. "Careful, Samantha. Ambition without intelligence is dangerous," I whispered. "You're right," and walked away. That afternoon, Richard called her for a closed-door meeting. Through the glass, I watched her expression change from confidence to confusion to fear. It was the first time I'd seen her afraid, and it tasted like justice. The next day, she retaliated fast. I arrived to find my system access reduced. I couldn't open shared budget folders, couldn't upload documents, couldn't even schedule meetings. She called me into her office, eyes cold. "I know what you're doing," she hissed. "Doing my job?" I asked softly. She leaned forward. "You think you're smart, but you're not. I can ruin you before you even realize you're falling." My fingers curled into fists beside my legs. For a moment, she looked 10 feet tall again. Powerful, untouchable. But fear didn't feel the same anymore. It wasn't paralyzing, it was fuel. That night, I worked from home using archived files and offline backups she didn't know I had. I built a report exposing her pattern of manipulating employee records and hiding overtime fraud. It was thorough, factual, undeniable. Before I slept, I whispered into the dark, "You made me question my worth. Now I'll make you question your throne." The office buzz shifted overnight. People talked in corners, silenced when I passed. Leah met me by the coffee machine, face tense. "Sam, word is spreading. The board is investigating financial misconduct. No one knows who triggered it, but everyone suspects you." My heart pounded. "Is that bad?" "No," she breathed. "It means she's losing control." Marissa avoided me the whole morning, but I could feel her watching. Every breath I took felt like a countdown. At lunch, she called for company-wide updates, unusual for midweek. She stood at the front like a queen clinging to her crown. "We are addressing rumors," she said sharply. "This company runs on loyalty." Eyes flicked toward me. She was trying to isolate me again. But things were different now. People remembered the presentation. They saw me differently. After the meeting, co-workers approached me with careful words. If you need anything, one whispered. Another said, we're on your side. Her power wasn't absolute anymore. Cracks were becoming fractures. 2 days later, Richard called me to his office. His expression was serious, but not unkind. We've verified part of your evidence. The board will vote soon. My breath caught. He continued, but I need more. Enough to remove her cleanly. I nodded slowly. I did have more. I just hadn't played it yet. I revealed that I had email chains proving she approved false invoice entries, along with audio recordings of private threats she made to co-workers. His eyebrows lifted. Surprise? Respect? Maybe relief? You're not just surviving her, he said. You're dismantling her. I left the office trembling, but it wasn't fear. So it was power I never thought I'd hold. When I reached my desk, Marissa approached, smiles stretched too wide. You look tired, Samantha. Guilt will do that. She brushed past, but I didn't look away this time. Instead, I whispered, you should rest too. Storm's coming. She froze. Just a second. But I saw it. A flicker of panic. Friday afternoon, executive assistants scurried through the office like stirred ants. An emergency board session was scheduled. Everyone whispered. Tension hung thick like heat. I was called to join. The boardroom felt like a courtroom. Long table, cold chairs, stern faces. Marissa sat across from me, perfectly poised, but her eyes had the shine of someone holding onto fear like thread. Richard began. We have reviewed finance discrepancies linked to Ms. Hale's department. Marissa stood quickly. Lies! Someone is framing me. Her voice cracked, only slightly, but enough to expose the truth. Then Richard turned to me. Ms. Cole, please present your findings. My hands shook as I connected my laptop, but my voice, steady. I showed records, emails, matching timestamps. Every slide was a nail in her armor. The room fell silent except for the soft click of transitions. When I finished, Marissa stared at me like she didn't recognize who I'd become. You did this to me, she whispered. No, I replied. You did this to yourself. The board didn't make a decision that moment, but everyone felt it. Down the balance had shifted. That night, I couldn't sleep. My apartment was dark, quiet, too still for the storm swirling inside me. I kept replaying her face in the boardroom. Shock, disbelief, betrayal. Part of me felt triumphant. Another part felt hollow. Did revenge always taste like this? Sharp and bittersweet? At 2 a.m., Leah called. Rumor is she's been suspended pending review. I sat up fast. Suspended? Yes, she whispered. Her badge shut off. Security escorted her out. I exhaled shakily. After months of torment, after being belittled until I felt invisible. She was finally powerless. But instead of relief, I felt restless, angry, sad, confused, all tangled together. Because she didn't just attack my job. She attacked who I thought I was. Now she was falling, and I was rising. But I was still carrying scars. Tomorrow would change everything. And I needed to be ready. Morning arrived bright and merciless. Employees gathered in clusters, buzzing louder than ever. Leah rushed to me, breathless. It's happening. The board voted. She's removed from her position, effective immediately. I froze. It was done. Security walked Marissa through the office with a cardboard box in her hands. She looked small. Nothing like the giant who once towered over my life. When she reached my desk, she stopped, her voice low, shaky. You think you won? She said. I held her gaze, heart steady. No, I survived. Her eyes glistened with anger. Or maybe regret. She turned and walked toward the exit, footsteps slow, heavy. And just like that, she was gone. But this wasn't the end. Because destroying her wasn't enough, I had to rebuild me. 2 weeks passed like quiet after chaos. With Marissa gone, the company felt lighter. like breathing with unclenched teeth. Projects ran smoother. Meetings ended without fear. People laughed again. It was strange to witness an office heal. Then Richard called me to his office. He gestured toward the seat across from him. "Samantha, we're restructuring leadership. Your work these past months proved your capability beyond question. The board recommended you for senior analyst, the position Marissa blocked you from." My heartbeat drummed in my ears. My voice barely formed words. "You're promoting me?" He nodded warmly. "Effective Monday." I should have felt only joy. But I also felt confusion, relief, sadness, empowerment. Healing is messy like that. Later, Leah hugged me so tight I almost cried. "You earned this," she said. She underestimated the wrong woman. But the day felt incomplete. Closure hung unfinished, like a sentence waiting for its last word. So that evening, I visited the old office where Marissa once reigned. Her desk was empty. Her chair faced the window quietly. No power left inside it. I whispered to the silence, "I didn't rise to replace you. I rose to rebuild me." And I walked out, taller. Just when peace settled into routine, the past knocked again. Literally. I was preparing quarterly reports when the receptionist called. "Samantha, someone is here to see you. She says it's important." My stomach dropped when Marissa stepped off the elevator. Her badge was deactivated, her suit less perfect, her eyes tired but burning alive. She held no box, no paperwork, just herself and something fragile in her expression. "We need to talk," she said. I led her to the rooftop, neutral ground where the wind carried words away before they settled like poison. We stood facing the city. She exhaled shakily. I lost everything. The board blacklisted me. No firm wants to touch my resume. For a moment, she didn't seem like a villain, just human. Broken. She looked at me, voice thin. "I trained you. I built you. You tried to break me," I corrected softly. Her jaw trembled, anger flickering with regret. "You destroyed me." I swallowed. "No. You destroyed yourself. I only stopped you from taking me down too." She didn't reply. She left without a threat, without a farewell. Just silence. But her return wasn't random. It was a warning. Her story wasn't finished. Days later, whispers slithered through the office like old ghosts. Someone claimed Marissa was filing for wrongful termination. Another said she was threatening a lawsuit. Someone else swore she was gathering former employees to testify against the company. Fear returned like a shadow. Richard called me into a closed meeting. "She sent legal notices demanding reinstatement or settlement," he said, rubbing his temples. "She claims you fabricated the evidence." My pulse kicked up. Everything I submitted was real. "I know," he replied, "but she's a fighter. She won't fall quietly." It suddenly hit me. This wasn't about the job anymore. It was about reputation, power, retribution. Richard handed me a tablet. "We may need you to testify if this escalates. Are you prepared for that?" Was I? I remembered the bathroom stall, the humiliation, the way she made me shrink into someone unrecognizable, and then the rise, slow, sharp, painful, earned. "Yes," I said, voice steady. "I'm not afraid of her anymore." The storm wasn't over, but this time I wasn't the one trembling. Preparing for legal review pushed me back into old files. Tunnels of documents I once searched for survival, but something unexpected surfaced. A recorded Zoom call from months earlier. In it, Marissa admitted to faking performance concerns to thin out weak links. Weak links. She meant me. My hands shook replaying it. This wasn't just proof. It was her own voice. Undeniable. The next day, I submitted the recording to legal and the board. The reaction was seismic. Meetings triggered. Emails flew like sparks. Even Richard, looked stunned. This changes everything. Meanwhile, Leah told me privately, the board is considering making your promotion public in a company-wide announcement. The idea shook me. Not fear, but awe. Months ago, she made me question my worth. Now my name might be broadcast as proof of resilience. But night arrived with a text from an unknown number. You think you won? But war isn't over. I stared, pulse heavy, but I didn't break this time. I breathed. And I prepared for the last confrontation. 2 months later, I took the witness stand. The courtroom felt colder than any office. Lawyers sharpened questions like blades. Marissa sat across the room, hair tied neat, chin lifted with stubborn pride. Still fighting. She didn't look at me, not once. When they asked me to speak, my voice trembled, then steadied like muscle, remembering strength. I told the truth, every insult, every public humiliation, every attempt she made to erase me. I showed records, timestamps, messages she thought vanished. The recording played. Her voice filled the room, oyax, clear, sharp, self-damning. For the first time, she looked at me, not with power, with defeat. The judge dismissed her reinstatement claim. Evidence of misconduct was overwhelming. She was barred from leadership for 5 years pending review. When I left the courthouse, the sun felt warmer than I remembered. Justice wasn't loud, it was quiet, calm, final. My life changed slowly, then all at once. The promotion wasn't just a title, it was space to breathe. I built teams with fairness. I mentored new analysts, gave credit, not control. I made sure no one felt invisible under my leadership. People noticed. I became the one co-workers sought when ideas bloomed, when anxiety hit, when someone needed someone like I once needed. Not a boss, but a voice of belief. One afternoon, Richard invited me to lunch. I see director potential in you, he said. My chest fluttered, but I didn't shrink. I'm ready when the time comes. He nodded, proud. The woman who once whispered apologies in bathroom stalls now negotiated budgets confidently across polished tables. I didn't fear deadlines. I didn't tread lightly in meetings. I wasn't surviving the workplace anymore. I was shaping it. Months passed clean, productive, bright. Until Leah knocked on my office door holding an envelope. You need to see this, she said. Inside was a screenshot. Marissa had filed for personal bankruptcy. Her life unraveled publicly now, headlines on business blogs and LinkedIn chatter. People debated her fall like philosophy. She tried to rebuild, Leah whispered, but nobody would hire her. Her reputation followed her everywhere. I sat back slowly. This wasn't victory. It was consequence. A heavy silence wrapped my thoughts. She hurt me deeply. But seeing her broken left no joy, only closure. Leah watched me, soft-eyed. You could reach out, she suggested gently. I thought about that. Forgiveness isn't weakness. It's release. Not for her. For me. That evening, I dialed her number. It rang twice. Then she answered, small, tired, surprised. Negi, Samantha? I heard about the bankruptcy, I said softly. I'm not calling to gloat. She exhaled like someone carrying years of exhaustion. Why call then? Because I don't hate you, I said. You were wrong. You hurt me. But your downfall isn't something I celebrate. Silence stretched. Then her voice cracked. I don't know who I am without the job. I pushed everyone away thinking power made me safe. But I was scared. I was cruel, and you were the easiest to break. I swallowed hard. Not for her, but for the girl I used to be. I'm over what you did, I whispered. And I hope you rebuild. Kinder than before. She cried, quite quietly, raw. When I hung up, I felt something lift. Revenge wasn't the victory. Healing was. 6 months later, Richard called another meeting. Small, private, but heavy like announcement. He looked at me with proud certainty. Samantha Cole, you're being promoted to Director of Strategic Analysis. Your leadership changed this place. Leah burst into tears. I laughed. Real, loud, free. The email went company-wide. My name headlined with words like strong performance, integrity, resilience. The same flaws I once walked with, shame now echoed with congratulations. People shook my hand. Some called me inspiration. I stood in the same conference room where I once cried silently after a public humiliation. Only now, the room applauded me, not because I won a war, because I transformed it. On a quiet evening, after everyone left, I sat in my office overlooking the city, the same skyline I once stared at wondering if I mattered. Now I knew I did. Marissa didn't define my worth. She revealed it. Her cruelty sharpened me. Her doubt fueled me. Her fall wasn't my triumph. My rise was. I sent one final email, not to her but to myself. You survived, you grew, you took back your worth, and no one can afford your absence now. I closed my laptop, turned off the lights, and walked out. Not as the woman she tried to break, but as the woman she accidentally built stronger. My story didn't end with revenge. It ended with evolution, strength grown from wounds, worth reclaimed, and the world finally saw what she tried to bury. Me.